Hello. This video is going to be talking about an alternative way that I've come up with for starting Amigurumi. The two main ones are to start off with chain 2 and then to do the first 6 or however many stitches in the second chain from the hook. And then the other main one is the magic ring, which for those of you that have watched my videos before, you know that I'm terrible at it, and I can't really get it to look proper. So just for your sort of reference, this is a normal chain 2 start. So I've got my first round there, which was done in that second chain from the hook, and you can actually see a little bit of stuffing is even poking through. This was done with a 3.5 millimeter hook and medium weight worsted yarn, and there's still worsted weight yarn, and there's still that, you can still see that hole in the center, and I didn't, you know, poke that out or anything for effect. I worked it as tight as I could, but that's just sort of the reality. And it does kind of, I always find that kind of looks like a cat butt. So, you know, there's issues with that way of starting. It's not terrible. The bigger your piece is, the less likely it is to be noticeable, but what I started doing was splitting that first place that I put my loops into, and this is what that looks like. And basically you've got my first round of 6, but they're 3 in one spot, 3 in the other, and then we've got this bar that sits here and kind of covers that hole, and that's actually part of the chain itself. And so it kind of gives it a different look. It almost looks like a little belly button or something, and I'll show you how I do that. It just gives it a bit more of a finished look, and you know, depending on whether or not that's what you want to go for, you might want to try this. So I start off by doing a slip knot, which I do by making an awareness ribbon, the short piece, the cut end of yarn over top, and the long piece, which is connected to the ball here, the working yarn, that's underneath. And then I just put my fingers through the hole of the awareness ribbon and pinch the long piece and just pull it through to make a slip knot. Put that on the hook, and I chain 5. So to do that, I'm just going to go through this for those of you that don't know, which I'm sure most of you do, but to chain, you just yarn over and then pull it through the loop that is on your hook, and that's chain 1, and then yarn over, pull through the loop, that's chain 2, yarn over, pull through the loop, that is chain 3, yarn over, pull through the loop for chain 4, yarn over and pull through the loop for chain 5. And so now in the second chain from the hook, and you can kind of identify all the chains as little V's, okay? And what I do is I start by putting 3 stitches in the first bar, the first loop, the first sort of line of yarn in this second V from my hook, and then I'm going to stop and then do the other 3 in this one here, this second one there. So by splitting it up, there'll be a bar down the middle and there won't be sort of that hole. So this is the first chain from my hook. Right here, that's the first chain, and then this right here is the second. So the first place my hook is going to go is through here, through that, the first sort of bar of that V, and I'm going to stick my hook in there, yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through both. So that's one single crochet, and then I'm going to go back into that same hole, and you can kind of see here how it's sort of stretched out. It's back into that same hole to do the same thing again. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through both loops. That's the second single crochet. And then the third, back into the same hole, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through both. And there's 3 single crochet on the first bar of that V. And now the way you can tell where the next spot that we're going to go to is here is where we just were. This is the center, and then sprouting off from the center is the other bar of that V, that second chain from the hook. So we are going to go in through there to do our other 3 single crochet. So the hook stops this one and goes into the other side of that same chain, where we will do 3 more single crochet. So yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through both. And now we're going to go back into where we just were, which is, and you can kind of see it, this little hole right here, for 2 more single crochet. So yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through both. And then for the last one, the hook goes back into the same spot, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through both. And so you can kind of see that there's not a hole there. And our first starting stitch will be this one right here. Is this V right here. And so you just work from there. And what you'll notice is that on the wrong side of your piece you have this long chain thing, and what I do is I just tie that in a knot. And what that does is it makes kind of like a little cover to the hole on the inside. So even if you've worked it kind of loose, it almost acts like a flap underneath that's going to keep it covered up so that we can't see any stuffing poking through. And you can just cut that tail off, and when you're done it looks like this, nice and covered, instead of like this. So that's just an alternative to the chain 2. And you might notice in some of my patterns I talk about, you know, start however you want. And that's because this is the way that I always start. But you can start with chain 2, you can start with magic ring, or you can start this way, and if there's another way you can start that way too. It's whatever works for you and whatever you like best. But I like this a lot better because it doesn't look like a cat butt, and there's no stuffing poking through, and I don't have to worry about fighting with the hole. The other nice thing is that that big long chain that you tie in a knot will always be on your wrong side, and so you know automatically which is your right side and which is your wrong side, because your wrong side will have that chain that you've tied in a knot, and your right side will not. So it's another kind of helpful way to make sure that you're always working on the right side.